your brain has been hijacked into watching porn. Your brain, my brain, and basically every man's brain out there that has at least been watching porn for at least a year. And the truth is that most of us get into it because usually the beginning is because we are bored, because we think it's cool, because it's a way to fit in. But a lot of the times that takes a way different course, and it goes from just being a thing that's cool or whatever to being a thing that we are dependent on and we use it as an escape. And now today I'm going to show you how that happens in a very very like practical way. I'm not the best at drawing, but you will get the point. And after that, I will tell you how to untrick your brain into basically not being dependent from porn anymore. So let's dive into it. So I'm gonna make a graph to show you like how these things happen. So the graph will be, this is dopamine levels, and this is time. Now, usually what happens is that with normal stuff like normal sex, normal intimacy, normal dating, and a normal sex life in general, what happens is we usually start from here. So let's say we find a girlfriend or a wife or whatever, and at the beginning, like let's say there's like a normal build up to the relationship. We start from here and we see our dopamine like slowly increasing. Maybe we have some downsides, maybe we fall back in below it, but it takes some time for us to get to a specific level where we're like really really happy, you know and the more this goes up, the more dopamine we get, because the more we're in love with them, the more we have like we're satisfied with our sex life and stuff like that. But this takes a lot of time. Like if you were to put it into like perspective, it might take you like a little bit of like a few months, a few weeks for you to actually get to this level where you're like really really happy with your relationship, and the dopamine that you're getting out of it is very very good. Now there is a problem with that now, with in terms of like watching porn and what it does to you. So let me clear this up. Okay, so by watching porn, what happens is, like, again, you're here at the start, and you realize that you can get something instant from these pixels on the screen that you're watching. And usually with normal relationships, you might have rejection, fear, stress, lack of confidence, all these things that are normal when you're going into a relationship. But when you're watching porn, porn basically eliminates all that. There's no rejection, there's no fear, there's no stress, there's no like, oh, I'm gonna get rejected, or will she like me, or like they won't have to think about things like now that people now think of like will she like my genitalia, will it be enough, will I be good at sex. There's no criticism when it comes to porn. So because all of that is eliminated right from the get-go, and you get that satisfaction or that instant gratification that you do not get from a normal relationship or from a normal sex life, the dopamine suddenly goes here all of a sudden, like, and that is instant. So you go to here, and what happens there, because this is fake dopamine, like it's not lasting, there's no like real intimacy, you just get a very very excessive, too much hormone levels of dopamine and oxytocin, because oxytocin also plays a part in this. It's the love hormone. So when you go to this point and you're at the peak, something happens to your brain. It's kind of like, do you know like this concept of like balance? Like there's always like nature always will restore balance, and in order to do that, when you have something that's very very positive, you will always have something that's very very negative. So boom, it will get you back to below zero, like basically to the bottom of your dopamine levels. And here basically is where you're like happy, everything is fine, you're like yeah, like very very good, nothing to worry about, life is good. And suddenly within like a few hours, even a few minutes, you're back here, and you're like, what happens? You're like stress, fear, doubts, lack of confidence, and I can keep on naming everything and everything. Now, because the brain goes here and it goes at the peak of the dopamine level where it's like happy and it's everything's fine, nothing to worry about. And then suddenly it goes back to here within like a very, very short time frame and it experiences all this stuff. What it wants to do naturally, as any man, as any logical brain would do, would it would need to immediately go back up here at the peak where everything was fine. So once you do that and everything's fine and something happens in your life, which will happen, and it happens after you watch porn and it makes you feel all these things, or events that happened before you started watching porn, you will feel these things again. The brain, what it does is it wants to suppress these emotions by going up here and ignore them. By ignoring them, though, the problem doesn't go away, and eventually you will swing back up. But the thing is, now that is the tricky part. That's where the real damage happens. Is when it goes up here, and then it goes back down. It wants to get back up here. So what we will do after like a few hours, maybe a day or two, maybe in the same day, it will do everything in its power to go here, and everything will be fine again. But I think you get the point. Once you're here, you go back here, and it just happens like this. And do you see now? This is like scientifically proven, not in this specific chart, obviously, but you can look it up if you want. This is what happens to the brain. The brain has no balance. It goes from 100 to minus 100 in like no time. And because of that, the brain is not accustomed to a slow learning curve on like how the dopamine increases. It can't do that because in the time frame it will take for that to happen, for example, like let's say like a week, it will have cycled through this multiple times, so it doesn't need it. So what happens here, what's really really important is that our brain's neural pathways, which are basically the messengers, understand that I need this in order to function. And because the brain is like it's porn like literally like a drug, so because it needs this dopamine in order to function, what happens is, there we go, because it needs these things, the neural pathways. So let's actually draw it here, right? I'm gonna try and draw it. Bear with me here. But let's just say you have your brain, or whatever you want to call it, and it's like weird, right? That's the brain. And we have neurons, like trillions of them probably. I don't know how many. And the neurons send signals. So what happens is the neural pathways basically, it takes it from one thing and transfers it to another. So something happens in your real life, or a thought, a memory, a feeling, whatever, and the neural pathway transfers this message to the body, to the brain basically, so that the brain can like tell the body like go do this, or like feel this, whatever, right? So because our neural pathways, whenever we feel stressed, alone, bored, scared, we lack confidence, we feel socially like incapable of like being in like social circles or whatever, unconfident in general, like we send this signal that we have basically accustomed the brain here to be like, okay, you feel stressed. Because of that, like I'm taking stress as like a common trigger. Because you feel stressed, now I know that whenever you feel stressed, I have to send the signal through the neural pathway to the body to go watch porn in order to basically go kill that thing. Doesn't really kill it, as we said. Like it will take it away from it for a little bit, but then it will cycle through it again and again and again. By the way, I noticed you just never saw my face on the camera, which is fine. But yeah, just letting you know. So because of that, your neural pathways, your messengers, also become accustomed to always send out signals when you're feeling these emotions to go watch porn, brother. And that's how your brain has been tricked essentially into watching porn again and again and again. So the only way for you to really, really, really get rid of this, let me get rid of all this, is for you to understand what are the things that trigger your brain, your neural pathways, to send that message to the body to go what's born. And for many people, it's different things. Let's talk about some common triggers. And triggers, all right? These are the things that send that signal to your brain that, oh, you have to go watch porn, all right? One, and this is a very major one, is social media. So you're scrolling on your phone, TikTok, whatever you see, like a half naked girl, and immediately it's a trigger. Okay, I have to go watch porn. Then another thing is stress. All right. Third thing might be boredom, and fourth one might be rejection. Fifth one might be awkwardness. And what I mean by that is basically you went into a social gathering or whatever, and something was really really awkward, and you kept on thinking about it, and then you just like had to remove that emotion and that thought from your brain, so you just went and do it, and did it. All right. So because these are triggers, whenever this happens, your brain sends that signal, "Oh, go watch porn." And how that started is because okay, you started watching porn because it was cool or whatever, but somehow along the way you realize that it gives you like a some sort of like instant relief. So the brain is like, okay, I feel these things which are not good. So let me just like go take away that pain, like give me some relief, and it uses porn because it's like it will always go after the thing that's like more instant because that's the only logic there. Like you wouldn't like wait hours or like find other ways for you to for your brain to like process these emotions if you have the option of finding something instant. So because of that, because you have that option, every time you feel any of these things or more triggers, like there's like a million triggers, you you condition your brain to go after porn so that it can numb those emotions. Now behind the triggers, so there's like a three phase to this thing. So this is like you watch porn, this is the trigger that leads you here, but there's another thing here, and that is the, I guess, root cause. Why are these things making you feel this certain, making you go watch porn? It's not that just only you have accustomed these things. It's because there's something happening underneath that you don't see yet that's making you look at porn by through this process. There's something happening, you feel these things, or like you watch social media, you see something, you touch something, you smell something, whatever, and that gives the brain the message to go watch porn. So one thing you can do is manage these triggers, find like healthy ways to manage them, but that won't solve the problem 100% of the time. It will give you huge relief, and you will be able to like reduce the amount of porn you watch by a lot, and maybe you break free from it for good. It like a in like yeah, you would never watch it, but eventually what happens most of the time is like after like 30 or 60 days you fall back into it and you relapse. Because if you delete social media, like okay, like that might work, but you can work your way around that. Like you will always feel like this triggers who are outside of social media or other triggers. So the only way for you to truly get rid of them, truly, is to find what's happening on the root cause. Now I'll give you an example. One thing that was really really big of a trigger for me was rejection. Whenever I felt rejected, or I associated the feeling or the memory of rejection with a specific feeling, and that feeling was, for example, sadness, emptiness, people making fun of me. Yeah, I'm not gonna write the whole thing, but you understand. And why I associated these emotions, because I had a specific memory of being rejected. The first time I was rejected in my life, I was 11 years old, so it goes way back. And there was this girl. I really liked her. I told her that I love her or whatever. You know, we're kids. At 11 years old, you'd say that stuff. And because I was rejected at school, I was not only rejected by her and I felt sad, I felt empty because all my friends were just like laughing at me. Because I mean, you can't really blame them. Like, we're kids, you don't really know how to talk about other stuff. You'll just see stuff like this, like, as funny. And I don't blame anyone. It's logical that it happened because that's how kids work most of the time. And then people making fun of me, not just the friends, like the whole school. So whenever I felt these things, like people making fun of me, feeling empty and sad, I associated that emotion to this memory of rejection or this trigger of rejection, and then I went to watch porn. So you see now that the reason this cycle happens is not only because of the triggers, it's also because of the root cause. These triggers are some way connected to these emotions and these memories that make you get triggered and then make you watch porn. So the only way for you to truly quit porn for good is to get to the root cause and find what are these emotions that are making me triggered, and what are these triggers to that make me watch porn. And you do it, the process is backwards. You go from watching porn to finding the triggers and then associating them to a root cause. You don't do it the other way around because it will be very, very hard, and I don't think it can work. But yeah, that's how you do it. If you like this video, click the subscribe. If not, no problem at all. I don't know if this was like very, very helpful. Definitely believe that if I had someone tell me all these things when I was going through my own addiction, it would be very helpful. So if you are going through it, hang tight, do these exercises, brother. Like, try to find what's really making you look at porn, and trust me, everything will start getting better. Thanks a lot.